Hello and welcome to TNTW Theory. There's this server called TNTW, and I'm going to be making a theory about it. Well, more specifically, I will be discussing and theorizing about the hidden lore of the Hallosville event on play.tntwcraft.net. Now, let's just get some ground covered. Firstly, the Hallosville event is an event undergrad mold made in the month of for the month of October. You can go trick-or-treating, and there are events that will be going on throughout this very spooky month. One of which happened yesterday, which was the opening ceremony. Also, if you want to join in the fun, the next event will be held Wednesday. So get your scariest costume on and get some candy. Anyway, the whole point of the Hallosville event is to collect candy by trick-or-treating and buying different items with them. The item that we will be discussing is the pumpkin juice. This potion gives you speed, haste, strength, jump boost, nausea, and glowing. Basically, a very, very good potion. But that's not what I care about the pumpkin juice. Why I care about this drink is because of a certain trade you can do with this item. If you go into the bank and into the break/server room, you'll find James. If you walk into his presence, he will say, "Hey, I'm on my break currently. Get out. I don't want to talk to anyone I'm not paid to." And if you right-click on him, he will offer to give you the Tear of the Wounded for a pumpkin juice. Keep in mind the word wounded. Now, once you've acquired the Tear of the Wounded, you can run down to the officer by the cemetery. When you get near to him, he will say, "Oh, happy Halloween. Just an incident I can't forget. Don't ask about it." Did he hate this? That attitude. Now, if you right-click on Officer Brooks, he will trade you a book called James B. Hill. This book reads, "In loving memory of the beloved Officer James Hills." Signed by Officer Brooks, James Hills, Alberta Hills, and undergrad mold. Officer James B. Hills died in May 2020 during a shootout on the westernmost residential street. He was loved by all in the town. Everyone was sad to lose the beloved James B. Hills. Now, after reading this, we know that Hallosville is not as easygoing as we thought. That westernmost street is home to 4 individuals, one of which is important to our story now. Overgrad Mold. Overgrad Mold is quite a character. He, when spoken to, doesn't like the light, and has charges pressed on him for putting razor blades in children's candy. When you click on Overgrad, you can trade him the book James B. Hill for a new book called Man and Paper. It reads, "House arrest note," signed by Officer Books. Sorry, because apparently Overgrad Mold is dyslexic. Overgrad Mold is charged in the murder of James B. Hills because taking him to prison would endanger the lives of the prisoners he is under house arrest. Because taking him to prison would endanger the lives of the prisoners he's under house arrest. Also under minor charges of hiding razors and candy. Festival times, May 23rd, 2020. Mysterious man found in the streets. Recalls nothing. May 24th. Mysterious man receives job at Hills Bank. Now, we can gather that Overgrad Mold is dangerous. At least we can think that, at least from those paper snippets. Now, when we go behind the Hill House, we can find someone named Ash. When you get close, he will say, "I want to learn Morse, just like my brother did." You can trade him Man and Paper, and he'll give you Mystery Hills by Ash. It reads, "James, the worker at the bank, is not what he seems. He was found during a dark time for our town. However, he still managed to find a position at the Hills Bank, even with no social security number or personal information. He has been seen visiting the Hills home at night. Note from Ash Hills." Now, a few things. Ash is a hill. Or a hill child. Also, he talks about the dark time in the town, namely when he says that James came during that dark time as the mysterious man, as you can see earlier on in Man and Paper. Now, me and undergrad had a Q&A, and this is what I asked. That dark time being like right after that shootout? And then he responds, what would you classify it as a dark time? What do we know about about how people saw this wounded officer? He was beloved, right? Are you recording right now? Because I hid an extra clue in my last sentence. Undergrad called the officer wounded, not dead. Now, if we recall from earlier, James, from the break room, gave you the tier of the wounded. Wounded. Now, let's continue on this quest. If we take Mystery Hills, we can go to Snackafackley's house, and we can trade him for a book named Conspiracy Number 5. Mystery of James the Worker at the Bank, by Snackafackley. James is not what he seems. He has currently been frequently visiting the richest ones in town, being the Hills. He knows his way around the town a bit too much. But what does this mean? I'm starting to think he has some sort of deja vu. Or maybe he has been here before. So this is the second time it has been mentioned that James visits the Hill House. Let's continue. We can trade with Overgrad again, and he will give you a book called To Overgrad by James. From James B. Hills to Overgrad Mold. The deed shall be completed tonight. Remember, for the head. I have paid you my price. You have been lifted from the charges of the candy. The story is cleverly designed to be so that I look like a hero, while you look like you were in self-defense. It's a win-win. I get to meet my fate. You get your freedom. For the head. James B. Hills. Wow. I'm not even going to go into that one just yet, because we have 2 more books. If you trade that book to Ash, he will give you a book called The End by question mark. This could be a reference to the achievement when you make it to the end mention in Survival Minecraft. It reads, Festival Gazette. And Festival is what Hallosville is normally called, other than October. April 12th, 2020. James B. Hills, dead. Died in a police shootout. Was brought to Hills' home by red pickup. Police say it was unintentional and are currently mourning the loss of the officer. Black and white picture in front of Hill. And then there's a picture on the next page. Black and white picture in front of Hills' home. Of James Hills and his truck he got a few years ago. Black. Looks velvet in color. Note found behind the grave. Help, 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 help. The plan failed. Frick. What will I tell the world? What am I going to do? Found April 20th, 2020. And a long paragraph in Morse code. The Morse code reads, I can't continue being an officer. They think I'm dead. Frick. What will I do now? I can't even think. I've decided. I know. Thank you, Overgrad. Now, before we get involved with all that, we should get to the final book. If you go back to Snackafackley, you can trade the book for Conspiracy 5.1, which just reads, Shootin' in May? Framed? Okay. That was a lot of reading, and we have a lot to get into. Firstly, James from the break room is in fact a Hill child. We can know this based on the fact that he was unwilling to do things without payment, which is quite usual for a hill based on how rich they are. We can know, but more so because of the sneaking around to the Hill House he has been caught doing. James gave you the tier of the wounded. Wounded was also what Undergrad said James B. Hill was. Not dead, wounded. During me and Undergrad's Q&A, he said blatantly that there are 2 Hill kids. There is a Hill couple, and there is Ash and James. So if we put 2 and 2 together, we can come to the conclusion that James from the break room is also James B. Hill, the officer. In the book To Overgrad, a few key things are said that further my point. It mentions aim for the head, clearly aiming a gun, making it known that this note is talking about the May shootout. But what's interesting is it's from James B. Hill. And you might be asking, well, how could James B. Hill be break room James? Well, James B. Hill isn't dead. No, he isn't. The Morse code, written by James B. Hill, we now know based on the fact that he refers to himself as an officer, and Ash saying he wants to learn Morse like his brother. James B. Hill is not dead, just pretending to be someone else. Wow, that's a lot. If you enjoyed this video, join my Discord, which will be in the description of this video. Seriously, play.tntwcraft.net. Wow. Once again, play.tntwcraft.net is loads and loads of fun. And it would mean a lot if you could hop on. Also, they're almost done developing mini games like TNT Run, Capture the Flag, and my personal favorite, Hockey. Anyways, subscribe, leave a like, and join that Discord.